With migration and security being key topics of concern here in Germany, the country's foreign minister has been in West Africa this week, seeking to strengthen Berlin's ties with partners there. Annalena Baerbock's trip took her to Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire. We'll discuss what Germany can achieve with its West Africa plan shortly. But first, here's a report from DW's Celia Fröhlich, who's been traveling with the foreign minister.
Dakar, Senegal. Annalena Baerbock traveled to the country on the edge of the Sahel region to hold talks with political representatives. She praised the democratic transition of power after Senegal's turbulent election earlier this year and pledged future economic cooperation.
We ourselves have great interests here because there is a lot of economic growth, many opportunities here on the continent, but also in the region, lie in green technologies and the expansion of infrastructure.
Security topped the agenda too, in view of unrest across the wider Sahel region. Coups and extremist violence have destabilized neighboring countries, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. Upheaval across the entire Sahel region has displaced around 3 million people. Europe is concerned about the potential far-reaching effects.
The Sahel is in our indirect neighborhood. The problems and challenges of the region, terror, migration, organized crime, poverty, affect us directly, including in Europe.
At her next stop in Ivory Coast, Baerbock visited the International Academy for Combating Terrorism. This year, Germany withdrew its troops from neighboring Mali and is now closing its last airbase in Niger. Military regimes in those countries have asked Western forces to leave and have instead engaged Russian military personnel for security assistance. But there are still other partners in the region. While Germany is looking to foster these relationships and to not lose foot in the region, nations across the Sahel are leaning towards Turkey, China and Russia. Germany's Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock therefore made it very clear during her visit that Germany is not looking for charity work in the region, but that collaboration with Senegal and Ivory Coast are in the very hard security interests of Germany. During Baerbock's visit, Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara advocated for increased humanitarian aid to help those affected by conflict.
The people need it. We also mentioned the risks this poses for Ivory Coast, especially at the northern border. As you know, we are already receiving more than 60,000 refugees from Burkina, and this is a burden for the Ivorian economy.
Baerbock's mission comes at a challenging time as the influence of the West in the Sahel region wanes, while other forces gain ground.
Let's speak now to Chris Ogunmodede, an analyst with a focus on politics, diplomacy, development and security in West Africa. Good to have you on the program, Chris. Now, the German foreign minister has been to Senegal, to Ivory Coast. How crucial are these two countries in the context of political stability and economic development in West Africa?
They're fairly crucial. You know, they are economic linchpins in the sense that Cote d'Ivoire is the largest economy in Francophone West Africa in the WAEMU zone. That's the Economic and Monetary Union in the French-speaking West African zone. As Senegal is also a security and economic and trade linchpin. It used to be, you know, back in the old colonial era, it used to be the capital of French West Africa. And obviously things have evolved since then, but it's still very crucial to Western security, economic and development planning. Also, both countries have large numbers of migrants from places like Mali, Burkina, Guinea, and other surrounding countries. So I would say that the visit illustrates how important and vital, really, the two countries are to a lot of international interest in the region's security affairs.
Right. Now, West Africa, Germany says it wants to step up cooperation with the remaining democracies in West Africa as a way of containing instability. Is that strategy likely to work?
No, it's not. For the simple reason that many of the governments that the West, Germany and its European and North American partners intend to partner with suffer from a lack of credibility and legitimacy of their own. You have in Cote d'Ivoire, for instance, Alassane Ouattara, who, circumvented the constitutional term limits to get a third term. There are lots of indications that he's planning to do the same thing next year when Cote d'Ivoire is up for re-election. Then you have in Togo, you have the President Faure Gnassingbé, who, again, did another circumvention of constitutional guardrails to essentially disenfranchise voters from casting their ballots. He changed, the rules against being able to seek more than 2 terms. You have Patrice Talon in Benin, who has been very authoritarian and has cracked down on the opposition, has jailed his political opponents. So if these are the governments that Western countries intend to partner with, their strategy will fail.
And this also comes at a time when a lot has changed in West Africa in recent years, talking about the military coups, the eviction of Western military contingents. How difficult is it for Western countries like Germany to sort out an effective Sahel or West African strategy in this scenario?
I think many of the Western powers are gripped by what I call inordinate ambition. It's what affected France in its mission, but certainly the United States, Germany. Germany doesn't have the diplomatic defense and development tools to be able to pull off any kind of robust engagement, yet it aspires to, in a sense, decouple itself from the French approach in the Sahel region, because the French presence became very toxic, and hence why they were asked to leave the 3 countries in the Central Sahel. But Germany doesn't quite have the diplomatic firepower of a France or the United States. And there will be domestic pressures should Germany want to commit to anything that the German public regards as, an overstretch in terms of financial and other resources. So I just don't see how, Germany can square that circle.
Because if we look at these 3 countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, these are countries where there are also significant security threats from Islamist groups. How can these Western countries engage with these countries effectively if they're to stem this threat, the jihadist threat, but also, of course, we know about the concerns about migration as well?
Right. Precisely. I think that the Western framework and, specifically European, because I do think that in some respects, the European footprint needs to be decoupled from the US footprint, even though, of course, there's collaboration between the 2 camps. The European footprint is so gripped by a fear of migration in a fundamental way, in terms of what they do, in terms of funding, in terms of training of, elements of the regimes. You have the Frontex framework of the European migration security framework, which is essentially very much in West Africa at this point, because now they are training border guards and, equipping them with a lot of military-grade weapons, actually, because there were instances during the protests in Senegal where the gendarmeries, brought out some of that kit. So you do see a sense of what the Europeans are trying to accomplish in Europe. But again, it will fail because it has been tried before and it didn't work. Nothing has changed in a fundamental way that would necessitate for those methods to be effective in this instance. If anything, the situation in the region has gotten so much worse. So it's not clear to me what Germany intends to do differently, which is why I don't see a pathway to success, however that's defined.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chris. That's comprehensive, even though there's quite a lot to engage, to talk about on this issue, but we'll have to leave it there for now. Chris Ogunmodede, it's been a pleasure getting your insights.
Thank you so much.